What's up, Spice Rack, and welcome back to another episode of Spice's Diary, where every bite feeds the soul and every story heals the heart. I shared in my last video that I struggle with self-esteem pretty much my whole life, low self-esteem. I remember my mom noticed that I was having a lot of troubles with it in my middle school and high school days, so much so that she signed me up for Barbizon. Y'all remember Barbizon? Don't. This modeling school that me and her did together, and we were going to be plus size models and take over the world. You see how much that happened. But what it did was it piqued my interest in the world of hair, makeup, fashion. Those are all passions that I love. One thing about me is I love a bright lip and a big earring. As I've been going through this healing journey, I've been really thinking about where my low self-esteem started. And if I take it all the way back, I'll say that there's a scene from the movie Precious where she's sitting on the bed and she's taking out her hair roller and she's looking in the mirror, and everything that she does, she sees in the mirror this blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl that's doing it back to her. Because in that moment, she's imagining that she's her. She's wishing that she's blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl. She's wishing that that was her existence. And that scene just hit me so hard when I first saw it, because I remember doing the same thing as a little girl. I know that they say representation matters, but it really, really does matter, especially when you are younger. And for me, my situation was my grandmother was our daycare, and so I was raised with my cousins, so it went boy, girl, girl, boy, girl, and I was the second girl, and I was also the black girl because my other cousins were mixed with white. Not that we were ever necessarily treated differently, I just noticed that they were received differently. Even the way they were described, often they were described as sweet and cute, and I was always described as responsible and tough. See the difference? There's one specific time I remember that we were setting up to take pictures outside a church. I was already squatting down with the rest of the girls in the front row, and all the boys were in the back. And the Bible teacher, she kept rearranging us. She said, "Do me a favor, hon. Why don't you just go stand in the back with the boys since you're one of the taller girls?" I was also the only dark girl and the chubbiest, but my mixed younger cousin, by a year, she had me switch places with. We were the same height, and at that time she was almost taller than me, and I didn't understand what that meant, but they were like, "No, just have her in the front, it'll look better." I don't know that they meant that she was prettier. I don't know that that's what they meant, but I remember feeling like, oh, they think that she's prettier, or they want to see her first. So here I am in my little kid mind, big, black, and ugly, on the back row with the boys, and my cousin, who just happened to be mixed and light-skinned, was on the front row, and so are the rest of the girls on that front row. And I just remember feeling so embarrassed that I was the only girl in the back row with all the boys. And no blame to my cousins at all. This definitely led to the beginning of me feeling inferior to them. I also went to a very predominantly white elementary school where there was just one, maybe two of us until about 4th or 5th grade. And then I believe 2 more girls came. But I remember there would be times where I would forget to take out my sponge hair roller. Y'all remember them big pink sponge hair rollers that you'd have the little paper on and your bangs would be wrapped tight? Well, I had the nerve to want the upper bang and the lower bang, so I had 2 in my head. It was the 90s. I was trying to have the feathered bang looks like my classmates did. Just trying to fit in, messed around and left the daggone sponge in my head. And that was such a big deal on the bus because kids are assholes. And so I would take out my roller, and then my hair would stay in the same shape as the roller. It didn't fall like them girls on the Pantene commercials. Them Pantene Pro V commercials. And don't forget the Herbal Essence, honey. All those girls had that long blonde hair and they just shake their curls out. No, mine stayed. That sponge curler did not move, girl. Now I know that's part of my black girl magic. Back then, because you didn't see anything like it, it made me feel like it was something bad. I remember kids just making such a big deal about my hair, and they want to touch it and squeeze it and talk about how spongy it was, how it was fluffy, it was softer than they expected. I remember feeling like a spectacle. But of course, then I did not feel like I did not have the words to say, "Get your damn hands off my hair," or "Back up off me," or anything like that. It was part of like me feeling like I needed to be accepted by them by letting them put their hands in my hair and asking me all the questions, or even the giggles. Like I would giggle back to try to minimize how it made me feel. And it wasn't until I got to junior high school, and I'll remember I walked in that school, and it was when they changed the boundaries, and so we were going to school with some of the kids that were supposed to be like some of the more urban kids. I remember that being such a conversation. And I walked into that school, and I remember feeling like, oh my God, I have arrived. I saw my girls Jade, Latanya, Crystal, Lashana, Tomnette. It was Brenda, Letitia, Linda, Felicia. I saw these girls walk in with their hairstyles and their clothes and their fashion and their attitudes and just all of this black girl magic I'd never really been around. And I felt like, oh my God, I have arrived. And I started to build a little confidence there. I would find my circle and my girls, and we just rocked it. I remember we had the BTC, Big Titty Committee, and we was kicking it. But then I would also remember as soon as I'd get back with my cousins, especially y'all, when the Alicia Keys era came out, oh my goodness, I might as well have been invisible. Everybody had them cornrows, the star cornrows, you know, the cornrows that ended up making a star right in the front. And Alicia Keys came out with them when she was saying, what was that song? Y'all remember? I keep on falling in and out of love with you. And if you know, there was a certain time in that era, you didn't look a certain way, you was not getting no play. And I did not look a certain way. Let's just lay it out. I was from Washington State. Not Washington, D.C., Washington State. Yes, there are black people out here, but as you might understand, there's not a whole lot of us. And to amplify it a little bit more, I was from Parkland, Spanaway area. Even less. I was a super Christian because I just was a really good girl. I was the darkest, the biggest. By the end of the night, I was the one holding all the coats and all the purses and rallying everybody up to go home, because what else was I there for? At least that was the message I always received. Mind you, I wasn't looking. I was so in love with Pookie, but still, it was, why is nobody checking for me? Am I ugly? Am I ugly? Nah, girl. You wasn't ugly. You just wasn't Alicia Keys. And they was looking for some Alicia Keys. And I struggled with that for years, thinking I was ugly. Not good enough. Because every time they came in the room, whoever was in my face, all of a sudden became way more interested in whatever they had going on. It happened over and over and over again. So it was hard to ignore it. But what else was I supposed to do? I always felt like I stuck out because I could never dress like the other girls. I was plus size, but even then, I wasn't big. I was just bigger than the girls. I was extremely developed for my age, and I let them people convince me that I was fat instead of them realizing that I had a shape. What I was given was body, honey. And there was no junior plus when I was growing up. That was very rare. So I'm over here 15, 16 years old, shopping at Lane Bryant and Catherine's. Ooh, girl. Like, what? And Lane Bryant was not what Lane Bryant is today, so don't come for me. Lane Bryant was old lady clothes or grown woman clothes. There's no 16-year-old that wants to rock a floor-length skirt, or even the mini skirt was down to the knees because they always made them cut different. I just stuck out. So when I got older, I remember as soon as I got my own money and I started to learn my makeup and started to get into clothes and could afford some stuff, I went in. Like, I wanted to make sure that I always dressed. I was always looking so presentable. I always wanted my hair done, my nails done. And I started that and maintained that for so long because I felt like that was the way that I could stand out. And then still, I would always get the comments and compliments, I guess. Wow, you dress so well for your size. Or I can't believe that you wear those heels so well for your size. Or your face is always so pretty. You'd be even prettier if you lost some weight. You should try wearing this. As if I just never was good enough. And that I was pretty but. Or you have a pretty face but. Man, that sent me on years of struggling with just trying to find my worth or trying to feel good enough. If I could go back and tell that girl now, like, girl, you have always been the prize. If they didn't see it, that's on them. You've always been front row worthy. You've always been a pretty girl, with whether you had the Alicia Keys cornrows or your own natural hair. Your shape and your size, it has not defined you because it hasn't stopped you from doing anything you wanted to do. If I could tell that girl that she is one of a kind and that her light shines so bright, it doesn't matter what anybody else sees, because it's only what she sees that's important. And while my dark skin might not have been something that a lot of people used to look for, I get the most compliments on my beautiful skin, and I love it. Don't let the sun come out, because I be sitting out there every chance I get to get me a fresh coat of paint. Nobody will shame me ever again for being who I am and what I am. Or who am I, you ask? Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure I'm God's favorite. But I'm also a resilient, strong, and devoted black woman who has lived through extraordinary challenges and has emerged with grace, wisdom, and an unshakable sense of loyalty. My life is defined by my commitment to those I love, my strength in the face of adversity, and my desire to transform the pain and hardships I've experienced into something powerful, beautiful, and impactful. Because I love me unapologetically, unrelentlessly. I will never stop, can't stop, won't stop. And it's because what God has put in me. He's shown me that my light is bright and it will shine. And if people don't understand that and they can't see it, that's on them, and they will stay blind. Oh, bars!